Morning, I'm Abhyuday Shrestha, and these are the headlines for this hour. Work plan for spending the budget of the district coordination committees stuck at the finance ministry for the past 3 months. 22 billion rupees rendered useless. Public Service Commission to unlikely announce vacancy for staff appointment within the next 2 weeks as per the preparation. Government yet to provide details on vacant postings. Protests over fuel tax escalate in France. At least 110 people injured and 270 arrests made. And league leaders Manchester City defeat Bournemouth 3-1 at the English Premier League. Manchester United and Southampton settle for a 2-all draw. Let's begin with the latest national political updates. The total of 22 billion rupees collected as tax and through other sources are in a defunct state at the district coordination committees across the country. The Federal Affairs and General Administration Ministry has prepared a draft of the work plan aimed at enabling the local governments to utilize the money. The Finance Ministry, however, has yet to endorse the draft that has been preventing the local governments from using the collected amount for development works. The 13 billion rupees collected by the erstwhile district administration offices has been confined to the district coordination committees for the past 1.5 years. The amount has now increased to 22 billion rupees due to the rents collected for lands and buildings along with other income sources. The amount is enough for constructing a hydropower project of at least 100 megawatt capacity. The money, however, has failed to come to any use as of yet. The amount collected through different sources at the local levels has been gradually increasing. Stakeholders have been repeatedly making efforts to allow the local governments to spend the money. The Finance Ministry, nonetheless, neither has finalized the work plan nor has it come up with any clarification for holding the draft meant for expenditure. Almost all local governments do not have their own building, due to which they have been running their programs in rented buildings. The freezing of the amount meant for the country's infrastructure development has clearly exhibited the government's administrative weakness. The schedule of the Public Service Commission is likely to be affected yet again as the government has failed to provide it with the necessary details on the appointment of new staff. The regular schedule of the commission had already been pushed by 2 months following the government's request. The notice for recruitment has yet again become uncertain as the government has exceeded the commission's deadline of the 1st of December. Based on the previous schedule, the Public Service Commission was preparing to come up with the recruitment notice in mid-October. However, the Cabinet requested the Commission not to publish any notice for 2 months, citing that the data of the required employees would be available after the integration of human resources at the provincial and local levels. Accepting the request, the Commission had asked the government to provide the vacancy details by yesterday, the 1st of December. The number of vacant posts for the recruitment notice can be determined after the government provides the list of required positions to be filled after promotions. In addition to that, the Commission will require 2 weeks' time to identify the designations for the inclusive category. However, the government's failure in providing the details is likely to affect the Commission's preparation to issue the vacancy notice. During this period, the government has also failed to proceed with the employees' integration process. Despite the claim to integrate officials by issuing an ordinance, the draft is still under consideration at the Council of Ministers. The government is currently in a state of dilemma after Nepal Communist Party's own lawmakers voiced against the ordinance. The Federal Affairs and General Administration Ministry has said that more time would be required for data collection regarding the vacancies. The Public Service Commission, which has been recruiting 2,000 to 2,500 new officials each year, is not just in a dilemma regarding the number of recruitments this year, but is also uncertain about when and how the provincial Public Service Commissions would operate. Prime Minister KP Sharma Oli has said that Nepal's peace process has been exemplary in the world as it was concluded through the active participation and leadership of the citizens. Addressing the Asia-Pacific Summit in Kathmandu yesterday, Prime Minister Oli termed the successful transition of persisting differences among various quarters through the means of peaceful ballots as exemplary to the world. Prime Minister Oli stated that the nation had headed in the track of development and prosperity following constitution promulgation and completion of all three levels of elections. Premier Oli added that the world would learn from Nepal that conflict in a diverse society could be resolved through dialogue, understanding, and mutual trust. The summit, which will conclude today, is being participated by Myanmar's State Councillor Aung San Suu Kyi, Prime Minister of Cambodia Hun Sen, and former Indian Prime Minister H.D. Devegowda, among other Asian countries' leaders. We'll take a short break here. We have more news coming up. Welcome back. Ignoring the basic necessities of the public, the elected public representatives have instead prioritized increasing their own benefits and facilities. The purchase of expensive and modern cars have become a trend. The local levels in Saptari have become a leading example of this practice. At a time when the public is struggling with the issue of lack of ambulances, a fundamental necessity, the elected public representatives have been using expensive, luxurious cars purchased by exploiting the state coffers. Cars worth more than 5 million rupees have been purchased in Kanchanrup and Saptakoshi municipalities of Saptari. The locals of these two municipalities struggle to find an ambulance during the hours of need. The situation is no different in 16 other local levels. As the locals continue to remain deprived of basic facilities, including the likes of ambulances, the public representatives appear busy in purchasing expensive vehicles in the pretext of necessity. There have been several instances where people had to lose their lives before reaching the hospital following accidents or during illnesses because of the limited and delayed access to ambulances. However, the public representatives who themselves travel in expensive vehicles continuously attribute the failure to purchase ambulances to lack of adequate budget. The issue of ambulance is just an example. While the public continue to struggle with basic services, the elected representatives who had promised to address the issues of the locals while asking for votes during their electoral campaigns are now being centered towards fulfilling their vested personal interests. At one point of time, farmers had no alternative to reaching the Agriculture Service Center to learn about the issues related to agriculture. There used to be no discussion regarding group farming and production. However, the situation has now changed. Farmers in Dareldhura have begun finding solutions by forming a Farmers Learning Center and have been promoting new technologies and techniques of farming they have learned. This is the Farmers Learning Center at Gharelu village of Alital rural municipality in Dareldhura. There are such centers in the nooks and corners of the village. Farmers reach these centers to discuss on the technologies and techniques in agriculture and increasing and promotion of their produces. The farmers even have debates on the control of the increasing use of chemical fertilizers. The farmers had begun discouraging the use of chemical fertilizers from these centers after their production of honey was affected. These centers for farmers have proven to be a boon across the district for sharing experiences among the farmers and for the promotion of their agricultural market. The locals learn from senior farmers and agricultural experts if the issues are not solved in groups. Strategies and plans are also formulated through these centers for group farming and marketing of their produces. Agricultural experts have said that these centers have been effective in increasing production, marketing, and organic farming. These centers have modern equipment used in farming. The Agriculture Development Office and other entities have supported in building these learning centers for farmers. There are around 80 such learning centers in the district. The Farmers Learning Center is a venue for exchange of agricultural knowledge. We have more news coming up, but right now it's time for another short break. Welcome back. In our public voice segment, we had asked the officials and service seekers at the Land Revenue Office in Kapilvastu what sort of difficulties have they been facing in the absence of adequate staff members. Let's take a look at what they had to say.
Public voice.
मालपोत कार्यालयमा आउँछौं है कामकाजका लागि तर दिनभरि पर्खाइ एउटा कामका लागि दिनभरि पर्खाइ गर्न पर्ने यो कर्मचारीको अभाव हो कि यो दरबारको जस्तो कुरा के यो संघीय राज्य भनेको यस्तै हो त
तत्काल सरकारले कति सक्दो चाँडो हुन्छ यहाँ तत्काल दरबन्दी जति छ कम से कम त्यति त कर्मचारी उपलब्ध गराइदिन सहयोग गर्न पर्यो
लगातार हामी आउन थालेको 3-4-5 दिन जति भइसक्यो अब आज भएन भोलि भन्छन् पर्सि भन्छन् त्यसपछि एकछिन भन्छन् नि त्यसपछि काम बन्दैन
कर्मचारी जम्मा 3 जना बेचारा कर्मचारीले एउटा मोड भिडाउने त्यही गरेर फेरि रसिद काट्ने कर्मचारीको अभावले गर्दा बहुत प्रब्लम भइरहेछ
दरबन्दी अनुसार कर्मचारीको पदपूर्ति नहुँदा काम गर्न कठिनाइ छ सेवा गर्नलाई भनेको बेलामा सेवा दिन नसकेको अवस्था छ
कर्मचारीको अभावले काम लथालिङ्गो छ एक दिन हुनुपर्ने काम एक हप्ता धाउन पनि भइरहेको छैन
It's now time for our segment Public Pulse, where you text us with your opinion.
Public Pulse.
And here's the question: why have the elected public representatives prioritized their own facilities and benefits and ignored the basic necessities of the people? Your options are A, forgotten commitments, B, ignoring their responsibilities, and C, affinity for facilities and benefits. The voting is on. Type NEWS, select your option A, B, or C, and send it to 34001 to share your opinion with us. And it's time now for the sports news.
Sports news.
League leaders Manchester City have taken a clear 5-point lead at the English Premier League after defeating Bournemouth 3-1 last night. In the match played at Manchester City's home ground last night, Bernard Silva gave the home side an early lead in the 16th minute of the match. Callum Wilson then came up with an equalizer for Bournemouth in the 44th minute. In the second half, Raheem Sterling scored in the 57th minute to give Manchester City a 2-1 lead. Ilkay Gundogan then scored in the 79th minute to seal Manchester City's 3-1 win over Bournemouth. In another English Premier League match played last night, Manchester United and Southampton settled for a 2-2 draw. In the match played at Southampton's home ground, Stuart Armstrong scored in the 20th minute and Cedric found the net in the 20th minute to give the home team a 2-0 lead. But Manchester United came back as Romelu Lukaku scored in the 33rd minute and Ander Herrera scored in the 39th minute to tie the match at 2-2. Manang Marsiangdi Club has registered its 5th successive win at the Martyrs Memorial A-Division League. With the win, Manang have climbed to the top of the league table. Likewise, Sankata Club has also secured its 4th win of the league, defeating Chiasal yesterday. Amit Tamang and Elon Maxwell found the net for Sankata in the match played at the APF ground in Halchok yesterday. Sankata failed to convert an opportunity in the 14th minute, but were then awarded a penalty 8 minutes later, which Amit Tamang converted. Having led the first half by a goal, foreign recruit Elon doubled Sankata's lead in the 48th minute. Chiasal then made efforts to return in the match, but failed to make a comeback until the 87th minute as Santos Sahukala converted a penalty. Chiasal failed to come up with an equalizer, and Sankata held on to win the match 2-1. Following the win, Sankata has 12 points from 5 matches and has reached the top 3, while Chiasal has 4 points from 5 matches. Meanwhile, Manang Marsiangdi blanked Saraswati Youth Club 2-0 yesterday. Manang Marsiangdi was aggressive against Saraswati right from the beginning and wasted half a dozen chances in the first half itself. The first half had ended goalless, but Anjan Bista put Manang Marsiangdi up front in the 55th minute. Afiz Olaole doubled Manang's lead in the 68th minute. Saraswati failed to come back in the match, and Manang Marsiangdi secured their 5th win. Following the victory, Manang Marsiangdi has 15 points from 5 matches. There are 3 matches slated for today at the Martyrs Memorial A Division League. The first match at the Anfa Complex in South Dapato, Lalitpur features a clash between Machindra and Friends Club. Machindra is at the 11th position in the points table with 2 points from 4 matches. Meanwhile, Friends Club is in the 13th spot with only 1 point. Tribhuvan Army Club will face Himalayan Sherpa Club in today's second match, which kicks off at 2:30 this afternoon at the Anfa Complex. The Army Club is at the 4th spot in the points table with 10 points, while Himalayan Sherpa Club is 6th with also 10 points. Meanwhile, Brigade Boys and Jaulakal Youth Club will lock horns at 2:30 this afternoon at the APF ground in Halchok. And now, before wrapping up, here's a look at the top stories once again. Work plan for spending the budget of the district coordination committees stuck at the finance ministry for the past 3 months. 22 billion rupees rendered useless. Public Service Commission to unlikely announce vacancy for staff appointment within the next 2 weeks as per the preparation. Government yet to provide details on vacant postings. Protests over fuel tax escalate in France. At least 110 people injured and 270 arrests made. And league leaders Manchester City defeat Bournemouth 3-1 at the English Premier League. Manchester United and Southampton settle for a 2-2 draw. And that's all for the moment. Our next English bulletin will air at 11 this morning. Keep watching Kantipur Television HD for more news and entertainment. Thank you for watching. Have a good morning.